What is going on? And we are live, I'm pretty sure. It said I got an error there. Okay, there we go. And we're live. Welcome to the SB Fantasy Football Podcast, where, gosh darn it, we try hard. I'm your host, Alan, and it's Saturday night. That means we're talking start, sit, trade questions, free agency. We got injuries. We got guys out. What are we doing? Um, Man, looking forward to we had a crazy Thursday night game. Like I was big on the Commanders and they did absolutely nothing for us. Big on Bill, big on Debo ended up saving me with that garbage time TD. But outside of that, man, I took it in the shorts on that one, and I'll stand here and I'll talk about when I do great and I'll talk about when I do bad. And that's just an instance of me missing. It's going to happen. I do like the outlook on Bill JCM, whatever you want to call him going forward, because Eckler is out with the Achilles, done for the season, maybe even done for his career. He's getting up there. He's not getting any younger. He hasn't really looked that great this year. So we'll see what happens. But they have said that offense is now Bill's going to get the ball a lot more. He's going to have a lot more opportunity. So looking forward to that. Hopefully we can get something out of him going forward. I like it. They just couldn't run the ball. And I don't know if are the Packers that good? I don't know. Duncan will tell you yes. If you've watched the show, you're familiar with Duncan. He's always in here. I'm surprised he's not here right now, gloating and talking about how the Packers are 2-0 right now and they're going to go 17-0 and win the Super Bowl. So we'll see. But we'll just kind of jump into some of these games. One big thing, a lot of questions have been revolving around tight ends. Dallas Goedert is out this week. So I think that helps AJ Brown stock. I think that helps Devonta Smith stock, as Goddard was a pretty big target in week one. Had a decent amount of balls thrown his way. So we'll see how long he's going to end up being out. George Kittle out. To put him on the IR, so he's out 4 weeks. You've got Tongs there, but I'm not super excited about him there in San Francisco because you got Mac Jones at QB. Now that could definitely change after this week. Is Kyle Shanahan the QB whisperer? We'll find out for sure this week with Mac Jones back there. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, guys. It's been a long day. But I like a guy that's still available in almost 70% of your leagues is Brenton Strange with Jacksonville. I'm not quite sure why he's so readily available. He didn't light the world on fire in week one, but he's a guy that we saw a decent amount out of last year, especially when Evan Ingram was out. He stepped up and played great. He had 4 catches for 59 yards last week. You got a lot of tight ends that are getting some work, very little yards, but are getting touchdowns. Like Tongs has 3 catches for 15 yards and a TD. Jonnu Smith, 5 catches for 15 yards and a TD. Noah Fant, 4 for 26 and a TD. Dalton Kincaid, 4 for 48 and a touchdown. Zach Ertz has scored 2 weeks in a row. So he's definitely looking good. He had 6 catches for 64 yards and a TD this week, as he's already played his week 2 game. So there's some tight ends that are out there they're really available. Zach Ertz is available in almost half the leagues. Dalton Kincaid's only available in about like 16%. Noah Fant's available in pretty much every league at 98%, really. Jonnu Smith's available in almost 70% of leagues. Jake Tongs, he's available in about 97% of your leagues. So there's a bunch of guys that are out there and are available. Michael Mayer might have been a guy that we were going to look at, but by all accounts, Mr. Lopez, how are we doing, sir? Brock Purdy is supposed to play this week. So if Brock Purdy's in, that kind of takes the wind out of Michael Mayer's sails. Although, last week He had 4 for 38, so that's not awful. Excuse me. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Again, long day. Um, how are we looking this week, Michael? We got any questions? We got our lineups all set. We ready to go? Let me know. Had another long day at the ball fields today. Kiddo did good. We won our first pool play, our bracket game. So we got the number 1 seed tomorrow morning. We'll see how that goes. But where are we going? Tyreek Hill, we were kind of hoping. I don't know if we were hoping, but there was a lot of things out there that he was going to get traded. Apparently, no one's called them about him. Now he's got these abuse allegations that are out there, so I don't see a lot of teams clamoring for him. So they're going to have to figure out something there in Miami. I do think that Dolphins do rebound this week. It can't get any worse than it was last week, right? I think that's where we're at with that. It just can't get worse than it was last week because it was bad. A player to keep your eyes on. Maybe if you need some help, you had Eckler. Eckler's now out for the year. Quinshon Judkins was activated for the Browns, so he's going to be eligible to play. How much is he going to play? We'll see. You've still got Dylan Sampson's there. You got Jerome Ford. Sampson saw a decent amount of work last week. Jerome Ford just kind of seems like he's not that guy. But Quinshon Judkins seems like a guy that can step up and kind of take over that backfield. That backfield is available for whoever wants it. Someone just needs to step in there and take it. And Flacco needs somebody to take over that backfield. He really needs that help to take that pressure off of him so that he's not if he's going to be under constant pressure, he's no spring chicken. He's not young anymore. He needs time, and part of getting time is having an established run game. So they really need to focus on establishing that run game to take some of that pressure off of Flacco. Because if not, it's only a matter of time before Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel is going to be the next man up on that team. You've got reports out there right now that Shedor's not even running the scout team. So what is he even doing there? I don't know. He's not. They've got I can't remember who the guy is, but whoever their 4th quarterback on their practice squad, he's the one running the scout team. It's not even Shedeur, which is crazy. So what are they even doing with him right now? I don't know. You would assume he would be the one running the scout team, but he's just not. Let's kind of take a look at some of our games. We'll talk about, some of the matchups that we got going on. Starting off, we got the Jaguars and the Bengals. I like Brenton Strange tomorrow. If you need tight end help, Brenton Strange, again, is a guy that's out there in just about 70% of your leagues. I like Trevor Lawrence. I like BTJ. A lot of people asking, what do I think about BTJ this week? I love BTJ. Again, facing the Bengals. The Bengals' offense, or not offense, their offense is fine. Their defense is they're just not great. So I do like the Jags this week. Is Travis Etienne going to keep doing what he did last week? Let's keep our eyes on him. Had a great week last week, with 16 carries for 143 yards. The Bengals are definitely a team that can give that up. Next up, you got the Giants and the Cowboys on the slate. I like the Cowboys. I love the Cowboys players in this one. Javonte Williams probably going to get another touchdown this week. Is he going to get 2 again? I don't know. I think you might see some work out of. I think they need to figure out what they got in Miles Sanders. Indeed, I may have messed up this week. I traded Mike Evans and Travis Kelce for A.J. Brown and Harold Fannin, who was 30 on Fab this week. Bad trade? Time will tell. I think A.J. Brown's going to be fine this year. I'm just concerned about Harold Fannin. Everyone's going all in on him after 1 week, and David Njoku's still there. I'm in the camp of let's pump the brakes on Fannin right now and let's see what he does before we just start going all in on him. Now, unfortunately, you already went all in on him. I don't know that it's gonna kill you because I'm not expecting anything really out of Travis Kelsey this year. Um, I think he's reached the level of he's TD dependent. He's not going to get a lot of catches. I don't think he's going to get a lot of yards. I think it's going to be you're just hoping he gets a TD. That's it. I don't know that I would have pulled the trigger on that. I do like Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans is going to be fine. I think the emergence of Mbuku last week actually kind of helps him out a little bit more going forward, knowing that, hey, teams really got to pay attention to him. The jury's out on that. We'll see. Can Fannin keep it up? You got people talking about how they expect Fannin to be a top 5 tight end, and I'm like, wait a minute, are we just completely forgetting about Njoku there? So we'll see. Again, it was 1 week against the Bengals, an awful defensive team. People got to remember to factor that in. I don't think anyone's really factoring that in when they're talking about how Harold Fannin Jr. is the next great, best thing since sliced bread. So we'll see. Also, start one. Jakobi Meyers or Courtland Sutton? Sutton. Give me Sutton. I like Courtland Sutton. I like that Denver offense this year. I think Sutton and Nix are going to have a big year this year. And give me Sutton. Yeah, I like Sutton. How do you like this lineup? I got Neighbors and T-Mac starting with Harrison Jr. at the flex. Or should I run with any other combination of Mbuku and Myers also? Well, I'd start Mbuku over T-Mac. I'd go Neighbors and T-Mac. Or not Neighbors and T-Mac. Neighbors and Mbuku is what I would go with. I think that Carolina offense is going to be bad. I'm not buying in on them right now. You just didn't see much out of them last week. Kind of continuation of where they were. I mean, they started to pick it up last year at the end of the year. But I really feel like people were just kind of overrating that offense. I think a lot of people are overrating T-Mac, to be honest with you. Being in just a bad situation, and Buku's in a great situation. He's in a great offense. He's got a way better quarterback than T-Mac does. The Neighbors is just good, right? I mean, Neighbors is one of those guys you plug and play. You just sit him, you put him in your lineup and you forget about him, right? Harrison looked pretty good last week, but I want Neighbors and I want Mbuku. I'm not starting T-Mac. I'm going to start Mbuku over T-Mac, Michael. I'm expecting big things out. I made it a point. I think I drafted Mbuku in like every single one of my leagues. And of course I didn't start him in a lot of my leagues last week. I didn't think he was going to come out of the gates as hot as he did, but he came out hot last week with the 2 touchdowns, with the game-winning touchdown that shows that Baker's already got some trust in him going to him late in the game. I don't think we're obviously not going to get 2 touchdowns a week, but I think we're going to have some pretty good production out of him for sure. 100%. I'm expecting Mbuku to have a really good year this year. So that's where I'm sitting on that one. What game are we at? Yeah, the Cowboys game. Yeah, I mean, I like Dak. I like Javonte to get a touchdown. If you're someone who gambles, Javonte anytime TD, should probably be able to get some pretty decent odds on that. End up in the plus on that. Make a little coin on that. Cowboys defense. I don't mind them this week. I think Russ is just bad. I think Russ is really, really bad. So my lineup now is Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, Kyron Williams, Chase Brown. I love Chase Brown this year. Love him. Harold Fannin and Jakobi Meyers / Sutton. I hope trading Kelsey and Evans doesn't take my team. It's not going to tank your team. Again, I don't think getting rid of Kelsey is going to tank your team. And I don't think Evans for AJ Brown is going to kill you. Those are 2 guys that could be right there next to each other. I don't know that it hurts your team or helps your team really. we'll see. Again, you guys, we got to see what's going to happen with Fannin. If he can keep up the production and just kind of make everyone forget about Njoku, awesome. But again, the jury's still out on him. I mean, Jamar Chase, obviously, you got to love him, right? Kyron Williams, they're expecting good things out of him. Chase Brown, I Chase Brown is my RB1 this year. I think Chase Brown is going to have a hell of a year. He had an amazing year last year and didn't start right out of the gates, right? And then going into the season this year, you've got the Bengals saying that that Chase Brown is going to be a focal point of that offense. That offense is going to run through him. I love him, especially in PPR format. I really love him. He's going to catch a lot of passes. He's going to run a lot. He's going to score some TDs. He's a guy that I'm probably going to throw a couple bucks on for an anytime TD score every week of the season. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to end up in the plus in that. He's not going to score a TD every week, but it's going to be damn near it. But yeah, I don't think it's going to tank your team. Again, I consider the AJ Brown, Mike Evans almost kind of like as an even swap type situation. I think Evans will Evans will probably finish a little bit ahead of AJ Brown. I think he's just a TD magnet, right? Big body target, and the thing with AJ Brown is just the Eagles want to run the ball. That's their main focal point of their offense, right? But they aren't. AJ Brown's not going 1 for 8 again. It's just not. He's not having one catch for 8 yards again. So I don't think he tanked your team. I think you're fine. Jamar Chase Brown, I like that stack. Kyron Williams. Again, I like Sutton over Jacoby Myers. That's who I would play in that situation. And then, yeah, I think you'll be fine. I mean, if anything, keep your eyes on Fannin and a guy that I've been pounding the table for and talking about is Brenton Strange, who's available in like 70% of your leagues. I put a trade in for Chase Brown, for Harrison Jr. He doesn't have any wide receivers. Do you think that's an even trade? You're giving up Chase Brown for Harrison Jr. or you're trading for. I mean, no, whoever's getting Chase Brown, which I think you're getting because you said he doesn't have any wide receivers. Yeah, Chase Brown's going to finish miles ahead of Harrison Jr. this year. Miles ahead of him. So if he goes for it, kudos to you, Michael. Because I've got Chase Brown ranked well ahead of Marvin Harrison. Yeah, getting Chase Brown. Yeah. It's a great trade for you. It's not an even trade at all. At all. If I had, I have Chase Brown in some of my leagues, and if you had sent me Marvin Harrison Jr. for Chase Brown, I couldn't push the reject button fast enough. Like, not for sale. I mean, he's obviously for sale. Everybody's on the market, but what you would have to give up to get Chase Brown for me, it ain't gonna work out for you. But yeah, I've got Chase Brown as my RB1 this year. I think he's gonna end up finishing at the end of the season when all is said and done. I think Chase Brown is your RB1 this year. Yeah, he has Genty and CMC. See, I don't. So I'm gonna keep Genty and CMC and Chase Brown because I'm gonna flex one of them. Right? I'm assuming there's a flex position. I'm gonna flex one of those three, but also I'm definitely holding on to Chase Brown if I have CMC because I don't trust that CMC is gonna finish the year. I just don't. What's up, bro? Would you trade CMC, Mbuka, and Pickens for Puka, Ladd, and KW3? I'd be giving CMC. Oh, he has Gibbs, not CMC? I'd still hold on to all three of them, Michael. I'm going to flex one. So you would be giving away. I would give up CMC. I don't like Kenneth Walker. I think Kenneth Walker, I think by come the end of the season, from what we've seen so far, I mean, again, we're 1 week in, we're not going to overreact, but the word out of training camp was, Chardonnay looked better. He looked better in week 1. I like giving up CMC. I mean, I would rather have Pacheco than Kenneth Walker. Yeah, I would rather have him. Yeah. Now, yes, and I would trade CMC and Buka and Pickens for Puka, Lad, and Pacheco because you're getting 2 number 1 wide receivers there in Puka and Lad. You're giving up 2 number 2 guys, right? I do think Mbuka is going to have a really great year this year, but if you can get 2 number 1 guys, and again, I'm not big on CMC in the long haul as the season goes on. And I could be proved wrong, especially now that you don't have Brock Purdy there and you got Mac Jones there. I'm not a big fan of that. So if I can get rid of CMC, I'd get rid of Mbuka and Pickens, and I would go ahead and take Puka, Lad, and Pacheco 100% because you're getting 2 number 1s there. I'm in a 12-man team, full PPR, 3 wide receiver, 2 running back, and a flex. I have Nico and BTJ. I mean, then you would just be loaded into the wide receiver realm and his PPR, and you're playing all. And then you got to figure out who's. Yeah, you play. I'd play Puka, Lad, Nico, and BTJ every week. So my 3 wide receivers, and there's my flex. And then I got Pacheco as my one of my RBs. Who's your other RB? I mean, you'd be set. Set. Yeah. I would 100% make that trade again. I would want to have Pacheco over Kenneth Walker. But yeah. That's what I would want to do. Hold on 1 second, guys. A Mrs. is calling me. Not sure why. She knows I was going live. Yeah. Let's see who's. Yeah, I love my. Hey, I still love Monty. This season, I think last week was just a week 1, and here's the thing: the Lions go 1-1 every season the last 3 years. I expect them to go 1-1. I expect them to beat the Bears this week. I expect the rebound from that team this week. Give me, 100%. Give me. I like Monty and Pacheco. I like that. Monty's going to be a TD machine again this year, I think. They were working him out at the receiver slot a lot in training camp, so he might end up helping you out in the PPR realm this year. I think you're going to see a lot more of both him and Gibbs on the field this year. You saw a little bit of it last week, but I'm expecting to see a little bit more of it. That's something I feel like that team hasn't done enough, but they've also just got so many damn weapons. It's ridiculous. So a little rough in the RB room, yeah. And I have Herbert and Kittle with Juwan till he comes back. Yeah. I mean, I PPR. I love Herbert. I think Herbert's going to have a good year this year. If he doesn't, he's Kyle Pitts of the QBs. Let's just face it. But I think the second year in the Harbaugh system, I think is going to do good for him. You saw what he did last week. I expect him to have a really good year this year. Juwan, I expect him to be a PPR machine, but not a ton of yards and not a lot of touchdowns, right? I think he'll get a lot of dump offs. I think he'll have a lot of games where he catches like 6 for 40 yards. So depending on how many points you're getting per for your yards, you're getting close to 10 points a game out of him. A guy that I like a little bit more than Juwan that's out there in the majority of your leagues is Brenton Strange. We saw what he could do last year on that Jags team whenever Evan Ingram was out. So now that Evan Ingram's not there, I expect Brenton Strange. I got Brenton Strange as a top 10 tight end this year. I really like his game. I think he's going to be good. Also picked up Fannin, and we'll see what happens with Fannin. I talked about him a little while ago, and We'll see. And Njoku's still there, right? He had a great week 1 against the Bengals, and the Bengals defense sucks. So let's temper our expectations. But like, I'd start Juwan this week over Fannin. I was hoping JCM would get some run. Gibbs got against Green Bay, but I guess they don't trust him just yet. Well, but here's the thing, and I like JCM going forward because Eckler's out. And I think Cliff Kingsbury's already come out and said JCM's is going to be their new RB1. So I like him a lot more. I liked him to begin with, and I drafted him in a majority of my leagues. I think JCM's going to have a good year this year. I think there's concerns around him with the pass game, although he hasn't gotten a lot of targets, being able to catch the ball in the backfield, and that's why you've seen Eckler back there more. Hey, no problem, Chris. That's what I'm here for. And I don't just spout out answers. What we do when we talk about this stuff is we break it down. We talk about it. We talk about our thoughts on it, why we think it, and I just don't say do this, do that, right? That's really what we try to pride ourselves on over here at the SB Fantasy Football Podcast. Me and my co-host RD, he joins me on Thursdays before the Thursday night game. We go live 6 p.m. Central Time Thursday nights before the game. But I think JCM is going to be a big play going forward until proven otherwise, right? I think you're gonna get a lot more out of him going forward. So I played JCM in all my leagues this week, and it bit me. It bit me hard, but I'm gonna again. Let's run it back again next week, week 3. We're playing JCM. No Eckler. Eckler's done for the year with the Achilles, possibly his career. We'll see. Again, he's getting older. Yeah, fingers crossed, right? But because I had gotten JCM in some of my dynasty leagues, and I threw somebody, I got him super cheap. I didn't even draft him because these dynasty league drafts were a while ago before he even made a name for himself. So I went out there and got him as a free agent on the super cheap. And so I threw some years down on him in my dynasty leagues. One of my dynasty leagues, I threw 4 years on him. I got 4 years on him at the league minimum. So do something for me because Daddy needs an RB1 at a league minimum. I need it. I need it. I took over an awful team in this dynasty league, and I'm trying to recoup it, right? Bring this team back, rebuild it, and getting that guy, I think will definitely help me, right? Another guy that I went in on some of my dynasty leagues, Jackson Dart was a guy that I went a little bit in on. I'm curious as to when we will see him this year because Russ just looked bad. And I think before we get him, I think we end up getting Jameis before. Like, because you got the Cowboys this week, then the Chiefs, then the Chargers, Saints, Eagles, Broncos, Eagles. I mean, they've just got a rough schedule. And they said there's no rush in bringing Dart in, which, yeah, take your time with the kid. Let the kid work his way in there. But I think at a certain point in time, you do need to put him in there. But I think before you do that, I think you almost go with Jameson Williams. Not Jameson Williams, Jameis Winston. My brain isn't braining too much today. Dable fighting for his job. Oh, he might wait too long. But he's fighting for his job, so he needs dubs, right? And I honestly, when they signed Jameis Winston, I was like, all right. I was rubbing my hands together. I was super excited about that. I love Jameis Winston. I was like, yeah, get him in there with Neighbors. We got Tyrone Tracy. This is before the draft, right? And you add Scadaboo in there, and we'll see what that does. But and then they signed Russ, and they're like, Russ is our starter, and I'm like, I didn't get that. I didn't understand that move, unless you're trying to tank to get a number 1 pick again. Yes, sir. Winston and Neighbors. Yes, dude. I want that so bad. But more than anything, I just want Jameis starting for the sound bites. Like, let's just be honest. It's the sound bites that we want out of him. I want him being part of every press conference before games, after games. The more I just want more Jameis, and like I can't wait for him to retire to get him in the broadcast, to get him in the studio. I mean, you're not going to get him in the broadcast booth, but you're going to get him in the studio. You're going to get him in the studio show, and I can't wait because that guy is just he's great. He does. I think he does. He really, and I think it's New York. Um, I think Russ probably goes out and has another bad week this week, and then we just hopefully Russ has a really bad first half, and then they yank him, and then they throw Jameson in the second half. Right? Let's do that. Let's get Russ out of there. Let's get Jameis in there. Let's have some fun. Uh, I know Dart's listed as the number 2 QB and Jameis is listed as the number 3, but I don't think they go from Russ to Dart. I think they go from Russ to Jameis. And then if that's not working late in the season, then you go to Dart. Right. But you've just got some tough games coming up, and you want to do what you can to spare the kid from that the first year, especially when your team's just not very good, right? Um, they're not a good team. They're not going to do a lot of winning, no matter who's in there. But I think I think James just makes it more watchable, and it makes it better for Malik. Like if I don't think I own Malik Neighbors in any of my leagues. But if I was a Malik Neighbors owner, I'd feel a lot better about him with Jameis. Yeah, if the kid isn't ready, a number draft pick would be the best. Yeah, I mean, hey, let's go ahead and get another number 1 draft pick this next year, and let's do this. There's going to be a quarterback coming out that everyone's going to want, right? So you trade that number 1 pick, you trade down, you get some extra picks, so that you can get some more first round talent to put it around your young core. You got Tyrone Tracy, Cam Scadaboo, you got Malik Neighbors, you've got Jackson Dart. Let's get some more, trade down, start getting some offensive linemen, right? You got to build an offensive line to protect the kid so he doesn't get shell shocked and killed. But you also need the offensive line so that you can go ahead and get the run game going and get that run game established. I like Tyrone Tracy as a running back. I think Cam Scadaboo might end up vulturing some TDs from him. But I don't see Cam Scadaboo taking over as the RB1 there. I think it's Tyrone Tracy's backfield. And I think Cam Scadaboo is more of a work-in type guy, right? 7-8 carries a week type guy. And Tyrone Tracy's getting somewhere between 12 to 15 carries. Scadaboo's getting the other ones. He's getting your third and shorts, right? Your second and short. You need a yard. That's the guy you put in there. Your goal line opportunities, because he's just a bowling ball, right? Cam Scadaboo is just a bowling ball. It's not huge, but he just knows how to run people over. And he's not going to run people over in the NFL like he did in college, but he still knows how to. He'll be fine. He's going to be a guy that will. I think he'll end up having a shorter career, just because of the toll his body's going to take. But I think it will be good while it lasts. How about that? I see him as being kind of like I don't necessarily want to say a Mark Ingram, because I think Mark Ingram got the ball a lot more, but that power runner to go along with that finesse runner that I think Tyrone Tracy is. How about that? So, let's see what else we got. Bears and Lions. I wasn't impressed by the Bears at all. Ben Johnson's got a lot to learn about being a head coach. That talent's not there that he's used to having in Detroit. Caleb still holds onto the ball for far too long. He's not for that last drive. He's under 200 yards, right? And that's kind of playing like not necessarily a prevent defense, but they were just trying to help run that clock down and things. So he got some garbage time yardage. But if it wasn't for that, I mean, he was under. We're in the fourth quarter. And he's like 150 yards. DeAndre Swift, not good. He's not the running back that Ben Johnson needs there. Again, I talked about it when we were doing our rankings. I have zero expectations for DeAndre Swift. People were excited about, can't wait to see what he does in the Ben Johnson offense. Well, we've already seen it. He was with Detroit. He did so great that they signed Dave Montgomery and drafted Jahmyr Gibbs and then traded him away for like a 5th-round pick or whatever it was. Because he demanded a trade because he didn't want to compete because he knew he couldn't compete. He knew he was worse than Gibbs and Montgomery, and he knew he wasn't going to get the ball. I just don't think he's that good. He just doesn't have that in him. So I'm expecting Detroit to handle this, to show everybody that, hey, don't write us off. We're good. We're going to be fine. It's the first week with new coordinators. First week playing, they didn't really play much in the preseason. You saw Tesla with that amazing catch at the end of the game, right? The garbage time, whatever, but dude, freaking, you think if the Colts come back to earth this week, Daniel Jones stays, or I don't think AR's getting back in there. I don't think the Colts come back to earth. I don't think they. Who are they? They got the Broncos this week, so it's a tough matchup. Yeah, Caleb's not that good right now. Right now, he has potential, but he's hearing the footsteps because he got the crap beat out of him last year. But a lot of that has to do with he just holds on to the ball for way too long. I think you're not going to get the same performance as you had last week. But I think Daniel Jones is a better option for that Colts team. With Daniel Jones in there at quarterback, I love Michael Pittman. I like Josh Downs. I think Tyler Warren is a great option at tight end with Daniel Jones. I said it when he went there, he was going to end up being the starting quarterback there. When Daniel Jones had a really good year with the Giants was when Saquon was there, and they had a run game. Last year, Saquon wasn't there. The year before that was the year Saquon was there, and he had a great year. And they signed him instead of Saquon. The year before that, Saquon was hurt and out pretty much all year, and Daniel Jones struggled. The season before that, when Saquon was in there, Daniel Jones did good. He's one of those he needs to have a run game. Also, he has a better offensive line there in Indy. I think Daniel Jones is going to be just fine, and I think the Colts can actually be a playoff team with Daniel Jones. Now, I think this week's matchup is a little bit tough. I think the Broncos defense is awesome, but I like the Colts with Daniel Jones. You put AR in there, and I'm going to tell you right now, don't start Tyler Warren. Don't start Michael Pittman. Don't start Josh Downs. AR he's either a 80-yard play or he's going to fart and fall down. We talked about it last year. It's just what he is. He's a tremendous athlete, but he's not a quarterback. But it's not that he just hasn't had the playing time. He's played so few games at quarterback that it's ridiculous, right? He doesn't, he needs reps, and he's not going to get them because he's not that good. And when he's in there, it's hard. But when they announced Daniel Jones was starter, I drafted Pittman in some of my leagues really late. Played him last week, and he helped me out a lot. I like him again this week. Again, I'm not saying start Daniel Jones this week, but I'm saying here in the next week or two, he might be one of those guys that you maybe have to find a way to put him in your lineup. Or if you got a bye week, he'll be a good guy to pick up. But they can't go back to AR. I don't think they can. They're better without him. And the thing that sucks about it is that he needs reps, and he's not going to get them because he's not good. And if you're not good, you're not going to get the playing time. So, but I do like I like Daniel Jones this week. I like Michael Pittman. I like the Broncos this week. J.K. Dobbins is still healthy, so you can go ahead and play him until. But I think eventually R.J. Harvey ends up taking that over because J.K. Dobbins is going to get hurt, and he's going to be poised and ready to pounce on it and attack. I think him messing up his shoulder killed him. I mean, there's that, but again, it's just he's a guy that really would have benefited from sitting for an entire year and not playing his first season. But he's also a guy that would benefit from being able to get some playing time, and he's not going to get it in the NFL because he's just you need to have some sort of a like you used to have the NFL Europe, right? This me showing my age with NFL Europe, but that was light years ago. But I think they need to work out something with like the USFL. I think the NFL does, where guys like an Anthony Richardson, these rookies, these late round picks, these undrafted guys have the opportunity to play there, and still keep their contracts in the NFL. I think that's the best case scenario, and I think that's something that and it would help out the USFL. I'd if you're telling me like in the USFL game, right? We're gonna have Anthony Richardson in there. We're gonna have these rookies that don't get a ton of playing time, especially your quarterbacks, right? But you're gonna get like a Tutu Atwell, right? He's a third or fourth receiver that just needs some more reps to figure some things out. You're gonna get your running backs that don't get a ton of work. Like, okay, Cam Scadaboo is not going to get a ton of work. We're going to throw Cam Scadaboo in there to get some work, see what he does, see what he can do. Almost like a G League for the NBA, except for the season's not going on at the same time, right? But I think that would help them, and I think that would help a player like an Anthony Richardson, who just needs some reps. But he's not going to get them because he's just not that good. But he needs the reps to be better. So next up, we got the Rams and the Titans game. I like the Rams in this. I'm playing Stafford. I'm playing Puka. I'm playing Kyren. I'm playing. I think maybe Devontae has a better game this week. Puka had a good game last week, 10 for 130. Kyren, 18 carries for 66 yards and a TD. Stafford, 245 yards and a TD. Look for Stafford for over 300 yards, 2 TDs this week, I think. Kyren probably hits 100 yards rushing this week with a TD. I'm not a big fan of Calvin Ridley, especially against this Rams team. This Rams team has got a good defense. Cam Ward just needs time, so we'll see there. But I'm all about the Rams. I'm not playing the Titans players, but I also didn't really draft a lot of Titans players. In some of my dynasty leagues, I drafted Elik Amornair, or however you say his name, because I think he might end up being something here the next year or two. Not so much this year. He's going to run my bench this year. I might have even thrown a couple years on him at the league minimum, just because I think he's a future guy for a dynasty. Patriots and Dolphins. Give me the Patriots in this. Give me Drake May to have a better game. I also think the Dolphins are going to have a better game. But again, we talked about it earlier. It can't get any worse. It can't get worse than it was last week, to be honest with you. And if it does get worse, holy crap. Hello, Quinn Ewers. But yeah, no, I look for them to be better this week. A-Chain's going to get a decent amount of work. Tua's just got to be better. You got to get Waddle involved. You got to get Tyreek Hill involved. Um, thoughts on? I mean, I don't have a ton on him. I mean, he was 6 for 103. They traded away um their receiver that got injured, but I mean the 6 for 103 is against Vegas too. All right. Um, I think he might be all right, but it's 1 week, right? Temper expectations. Um, but I mean, he's got a good quarterback in Drake May. I like Drake May, but I also think that team is going to be built for the run. So you might not get a lot of big passing games this year. I think they're looking at increasing TreVeyon Henderson's workload this week versus last week. You still got Ramondre there. I think he'll be all right. But he's a guy to definitely keep your eye on. If you've got an open roster spot and you can pick him up, pick him up. He's available. Let's see here. What's his availability like? I mean, he's available in like 70% of your leagues. And if you got the roster spot, if you got someone that I take a flyer on him. If you got someone that you're okay cutting. But again, it's 1 week. Stevenson needs to sit down. I think so. But also, like I think he's more of a change of pace, maybe like a third down back. He's a guy you can trust in the pass block, right? And so if you've got a passing down, maybe he's in there. But also at the same time, TreVeyon's good at catching passes, and that's part of the reason why you brought him in there. But look for again, if you've got a roster spot for Booty, go and take a flyer on him. But I don't know that I'm going to start him this week. I'm going to see what I got going. Who do I start in my flex? TreVeyon Henderson, Jakobi Meyers, Marvin Harrison Jr., McMillan, Javonte Williams, Jordan Mason, Charbonnet. I like TreVeyon Henderson. I think you're going to get a TD out of Javonte Williams this week. I think this might be a run game. I'm not big on Javonte long term. I'm big on Javonte short term. And short term includes playing the Giants this week and expecting them to be up and Javonte to get a lot of carries and to at least get you one touchdown, maybe another multi-touchdown week. And then we look at maybe trading him high. Maybe we can turn him into a wide receiver number one. But long term, I'm not a big Javonte Williams fan. Short term, I am. I like him this week. I do like TreVeyon Henderson. Is it a PPR league? Let me ask you that. I want to lean towards TreVeyon or Javonte Williams. The Dolphins did look just completely god awful last week. Are they going to be that bad again this week? Maybe. TreVeyon's supposed to get a bigger workload. If it's a PPR, I think TreVeyon gets a slight edge because I think he's going to catch some passes out of the backfield. Something that I think you're going to get a lot from Javonte. Again, I think Javante's a touchdown, at least a touchdown. I'm going to throw money down on him as an anytime TD scorer this week against the Giants. 1 point PPR. It's to me, I think TreVeyon and Javonte are right there on the same tier this week. I don't think you'd be wrong with either one of them. I'm not a big on Jakobi Meyers. Marvin Harrison, I think we got a better week out of him this week. Let's see here. 5 for 71 in the TD. They're playing Carolina. Carolina's bad. I tend to lean towards RBs in my flex, especially in the PPR when you got someone like a TreVeyon there. Charbonnet, I think long term is a better play. Well, going forward. Might be another week or two before he kind of takes over that backfield there in Seattle. Let's go Javonte. And it's close. Like, you can start Travion or Javonte, and I think you'll be all right with either one of those guys. Travion might have a slight edge because of the PPR, but also I think you're definitely getting. I think you're getting a touchdown and maybe 100 yards out of Javonte this week. At least one TD. I want to keep an eye on that one. Henderson versus Williams. But yeah, I like Javonte against the Giants this week. The Giants are just bad. I like the Cowboys to go up. I like them to run the ball a lot. I do like Travion. I don't know the Dolphins are going to be as bad this week, honestly. I think the Dolphins are better this week than they were last week. But again, that's not saying much because they were so bad last week. Absurdly bad last week. So I'm not. Mason's still splitting that backfield with Aaron Jones, so I'm not super excited about that. Same thing with Charbonnet with Kenneth Walker. Not excited about that. Those are competitions I'll keep my eye on, kind of going forward. I expect Charbonnet to kind of take over that backfield this year. Jordan Mason, I don't know. I really don't know. Team only meeting to lose doesn't look good. Yeah, you lose your first game of the season. You're already having a players only meeting week 1. That's not good. I saw the meme out there that's Mike McDaniel, next Detroit Lions offensive coordinator after this season. Because he's not long for the head coaching world after this season, and he's gonna end up being an offensive coordinator somewhere. He's got some ties with Dan Campbell, but yeah, we'll see. But yeah, give me Javonte just barely. But if you started Travion Henderson, I ain't gonna be mad at it. I think either one of those two guys. And when we're talking about a flex in a PPR, I do tend to lean towards unless you've got like a for sure wide receiver number one. And Marvin Harrison Jr. had a rough year last year, and he might end up being that guy this year, being that for sure number one wide receiver. I'm just not going to make that judgment off of 1 week, but I tend to lean towards my running backs because they're going to get the ball handed to them and have their workload versus having to count on a quarterback to pass them the ball and that, right? We saw a lot of number one wide receivers get shut down last week. AJ Brown, for example, 1 for 8. That one hurt. Any wide receiver for the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill has now gone an entire year without catching a pass for 30 yards or more. It's not good. It's not good at all. Especially when you have the word out there that the Dolphins might be willing to trade him and nobody's calling. And then the Dolphins are like, oh yeah, no, we're not going to trade him. We don't want to trade him. Yes, you do. You want to try and get something for him because he's just not that guy anymore. But nobody's calling you. Nobody wants to make the move. Nobody wants to make the trade because he just hasn't been that guy. He's just not that guy anymore. And he's coming with a ton of baggage. He's always had a lot of baggage. The only thing that stops Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill. You have all these, domestic violence allegations out there on him. It's not looking good. He's got a history of abuse in the past. So yeah, it's not looking good. I think Tyreek Hill might be a guy that might not be in the league here in the next year, 2. Just completely disappear off the face of the earth. As far as the NFL is concerned. Because if he's not catching deep passes, what's he doing? That's always been his thing. That has always been his thing, and he's not that guy anymore. It's been a full year since he's caught a pass over 30 yards. That's not looking good. Next up, 49ers and Saints. I absolutely hate this game. Mac Jones, Spencer Rattler. Somebody needs to trade for Chris Olave and get him out of there before he gets killed. I mean, I do still like Ricky Purcell. They are going to throw the ball, and someone's got to catch it. It's got to be Ricky, right? You know, there's not much else going on there. Jennings is, dealing with injuries and shoulder. Not excited about Spencer Rattler at all. I don't mind Juwan Johnson, though, in a PPR format league where I expect him to catch a lot of passes. We're talking six catches for 50 yards or less. Getting you somewhere like around 10 points. So if you had a George Kittle, that might be a guy you plug and play. Tong, I'm not super excited about him being, the new tight end there with the Giants. Not the Giants, the 49ers. He did have a touchdown last week. But Mac Jones is the quarterback now. I'm just not I'm just not I don't like that game at all. We'll see what CMC can do, but if you're not having to worry about the quarterback, you can just load the box. And I feel like you could shut out a not so great CMC anymore, right? So I'm not excited about playing CMC this week, although he's probably going to be the only offense that they have out there. Now, this is assuming that, hey, what if Kyle Shanahan really is a quarterback whisperer, and then all of a sudden Mac Jones becomes that guy? That'd be crazy. We've seen crazier, for sure. But yeah, I'm just not excited about that game at all. I don't want to do anything with that game or anything. Bills and the Jets. I like Breece Hall. Josh Allen, obviously. I think Keon Coleman. It took him a little while to get going. I mean, hell, it took that whole Bills team a little while to get going. But once they got going, boom, let's go. We're firing. Go, 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 go. I like Keon Coleman. I like Lil Shakir. Dalton Kincaid. He's a TD dependent, tight end. But if you need a tight end because you had George Kittle, I ain't gonna be mad at you for picking up Dalton Kincaid. James Cook, I like him. On the Jets side, I mean, Justin Fields, fantasy wise, is all right. Garrett Wilson, we'll see if they, continue with like a split with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. If Braylon Allen can kind of find a way to carve some usage out of him, maybe some TDs, some close TDs. The Bills defense isn't going to shut you down, but they're a bend don't break type thing, right? And they're a defense that can come through when it matters and when it counts. But yeah, I mean, I like everything on the Bills side. I like a few things on the Jets side. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson. If you're in a pinch, which I mean, we're in week 2, you shouldn't be in a pinch for a QB, but I think Justin Fields is a guy that could be a good guy going forward to fill in for bye weeks for you. You need a bye week quarterback if the matchup's right. Yeah, why not? Seahawks and Steelers. Aaron Rodgers isn't going to repeat what he did last week. Let's just face it. He balled out because he was playing the Jets, and he's got an axe to grind with the Jets because the Jets wronged him. Because Aaron Rodgers goes in there and they ask him if he wants to keep playing football, and he goes, "I'm interested." You're either in or you're out. We're not going to pussyfoot around. We got to figure some things out. And Aaron Glenn didn't want to deal with it. And he goes, "Okay, cool. We've seen enough here." I think it's different if Aaron Rodgers goes into that meeting with him and says, "I'm all in. I'm ready to go. Hey, coach, let's go win a Super Bowl. Let's go give it our all." I think it's a different situation then. But Aaron Rodgers goes in there and says, "I'm interested in playing football." I don't want you if you're interested. I want you if you're in. I want you if you say, "Let's go." But you're not. You're saying, "I'm interested. I could be persuaded to play football for you." Nah, we're good. We don't need you. But yeah, JSN, 9 for 124, great game. You've got Charbonnet, 12 for 47 in a TD. He might be coming around. Uh, DK Metcalf, Jonnu Smith, I'm not really excited about. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to catch. I mean, he was 5 for 15 last week and a TD. Going to be TD dependent, right? If he doesn't get a TD, he ain't going to get you much. He'll get you like 5 catches, like 20, 30 yards. I think he's as far as like a PPR thing, like I'm talking about Juwan Johnson earlier, where I think he's going to get you 5, 6 catches for 40, 50 yards. I think he's going to have a few more yards than you will out of Jonnu Smith. And the thing that sucks is Jonnu Smith was a guy that I really loved going into the season until he was traded to the Steelers. Steelers use their tight ends as blockers. That's just all there is to it. Aaron Rodgers has never really had a big tight end, receiving tight end. That's just blown up. So, Browns and the Ravens. Flacco's return to Baltimore. I mean, Derrick Henry is just a man amongst boys. Expect them to run the ball a lot. Zay Flowers looked great at 7 for 143 in a TD. Lamar's going to continue to look good. Look for them to kind of take out their frustrations after getting beat last week by the Bills last minute. Look for them to take that out on the Browns. Expect Flacco to kind of run for his life some. I don't expect them to be able to establish the run real well against Baltimore. So they're going to be able to just pin their ears back and just kind of tee off on an old Flacco. Broncos and Colts, we talked about that a little bit. I expect Daniel Jones to have a pretty good game, but he's not going to have the game he had last week. I do like Michael Pittman, especially with Daniel Jones back there. I like Bo Nix. I like Cortland Sutton. Is Evan Ingram supposed to play? If Evan Ingram's supposed to play, I like Ingram. Yeah, he's not even on the injury report right now. So he's back. I like Evan Ingram. Yeah, it was 1 week last week. Let's not worry or panic or freak out about that. I think Evan Ingram's going to be just fine. I think he's on a better offense this year in Denver than he was last year in Jacksonville. Just need him to stay healthy. We know what a Sean Payton offense can do with a good tight end. Jimmy Graham, right? Evan Ingram's not Jimmy Graham, but he's pretty damn good. So look for them to utilize him. I like Evan Ingram this week, especially because he's completely off the injury report. Cards and Panthers. I like the Cards. Kyler, you're going to get kind of like what you got him last week, 160 yards and 2 TDs. Trey Benson, I think he's going to kind of start to take over that backfield as the season goes on. I like Trey Benson in the long term. James Conner's going to vulture some TDs, right? So Conner's TD dependent. Trey Benson is a guy that they're looking to kind of start to take over, especially as James Conner's getting older, a little bit longer in the tooth, a little bit older. So I kind of like Trey Benson a little bit, kind of like James Conner. Marvin Harrison, I do like him. Hopefully he continues with what he did last week to keep that train rolling because he had a very disappointing first season. Hopefully he has a better this year. The Panthers, Bryce Young's just not good. I don't know. Maybe it's just 1 week, right? But we've got a body of work that says he hasn't been that great. He finished the year pretty decent last year, right? Everybody's forgotten that Xavier Leggett's there, and they're all in on T-Mac. Chuba Hubbard, running back. I don't know. I just don't know what to think of this Panthers team, and until they can prove something otherwise, I'm not playing them. I do have Xavier Leggett in some leagues. I drafted him really late. I'm expecting him to have a decent year this year, but that's dependent on Bryce Young taking a step forward. We didn't see it in week 1. We'll see if we see it in week 2. Eagles and Chiefs, can't wait for that game. A.J. Brown's going to play better this week. I like Hollywood. I think Hollywood, especially in PPR formats, is a must play. He had 10 catches for 99 yards last week. Xavier Worthy is ruled out. Juju Smith-Schuster is, if you do DFS, a guy that you can get real cheap that you might be able to get a TD out of, right? Pacheco, I like Pacheco. I'm to the point right now to where I don't play. I completely avoided my drafts. Pat Mahomes, he's just not. I don't know. Last year wasn't that great for him. I had him in a couple leagues and I didn't play. I ended up not playing him after a while. I think it was after about 4 or 5 weeks where I was like, okay, he's just not doing it this year. I went with other players. I'm not excited about Kelsey. Kelsey's TD dependent now. If he doesn't get a TD, he's going to get you nothing. So boomer bust there with him. The Browns, I mean, not the Browns, but the Eagles, A.J. Brown, I think he has a better week this week. He's not going to repeat last week with 1 catch for 8 yards. It's just not going to happen. No Dallas Goedert. Not excited about the guys behind him. Because they're looking at doing like a platoon system with 2 guys. There's no one guy there to take over. So I'm not playing any tight ends there, but I think that also benefits, again, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith not having Goddard there to take a bunch of the targets away, like especially last week. Goddard had a real good week last week. With him out, A.J. Brown stock and Devonta Smith stock goes up. And also, again, they're going to be better than they were last week. Just all there is to it. Love Saquon, right? I mean, was there not the love about him? I've had a lot of people asking what I think about Tank Bigsby now. I'm not playing. Don't even know if I'm keeping. If you have Saquon, you're keeping him as a handcuff, but it's a crowded backfield, right? A.J. Dillon got a decent amount of work last week. Will Shipley, the second-year guy, got some work. You're not just going to come in and throw Bigsby in there and pass up these 2 guys, right? So unless there's some injuries there, Tank Bigsby is kind of not fantasy relevant at all. Just kind of dead to us. And then we've got the Falcons and the Vikings. Is Penix going to have another good week? Bijan, 6 catches for 100 yards and a TD. Does Kyle Pitts resemble a tight end? He was okay last week. We'll see. Penix has talked about how he really wants to get the ball to Pitts. He wants to make it a point. All right, let's see it. But, I mean, until proven otherwise, Kyle Pitts is still dead to me. MVP Pitts. You just always want to poke the bear, don't you, Michael? Always. But, yeah, no, he's dead to me. That's all there is to it. I went all in on him hardcore last year, and he did nothing but just rip my heart out in front of me, throw it down on the ground and stomp on it. And I went scorched earth, and I cut him in all my leagues, and I didn't regret it. And then this year happens, and everyone's like, "Oh, Pitts is back. It's his year. It's his year." And I'm like, "Why are we doing this? Stop doing this. Stop. It's not his year. Just get that out of your head. It's not." But yeah, no, this is supposed to be the return of Kirk Cousins, the Vikings. J.J. McCarthy, I thought kid didn't play football at all last year, right? It's first NFL game against if you're a Bears defensive player, you got to be pissed off because the Bears defense isn't bad. The Bears defense is pretty decent. They just spend too much time on the field because Caleb Williams can't get that offense going. So if you're a Bears defender, you got to be pissed. I mean, you got to pick 6. Most of your points came from him. But anyways, what was that? Where was I? Oh, Jay McCarthy. Took him 3 quarters to get going, but once he got going, oh man, it looked good. Now, are we going to get 4th quarter JJ McCarthy all day, every day now? No, we're not. But yeah, I'm in a group chat in one of the dynasty leagues I'm in, and halfway through the 3rd quarter, they're like, JJ McCarthy's not him. all the reports that he was struggling, it's all real. This guy's not any good. The Vikings regret it. And then JJ said, okay, let's go, guys. I got this. Right. Crunch time when it mattered, he was great. James Conner, Etienne in standard, and Sutton or Buka in standard. Okay, standard. Etienne playing the Bengals, right? They're still am I right in saying that? Is it Jacksonville and the Bengals? I gotta look. Yeah, I like the Bengals. I mean, I like Jacksonville playing the Bengals. So I'm going to go Etienne. I think it showed a little bit of belief in him with them just trading Bigsby away, right? Um, I think Trey Benson starts to steal away from James Conner. Um, Now the big question is Sutton or Ibuka. And here's my thought on Sutton and Ibuka. You give me a number one wide receiver versus a number two wide receiver. I'm always going to take the number one wide receiver, right? Um, Denver is playing the Colts. Colts didn't look bad last week. Bucks are playing the Texans. I mean, Ibuka had 4 catches for 67 and a TD. Or two TDs. I want to say Sutton. I want to say Ibuka comes back down a little bit this week. Mike Evans maybe steps in this week, right? So give me ETN and give me Sutton, and it's close. But to me, again, it boils down to a number one wide receiver versus a number two wide receiver. And I'll take the number one wide receiver over the number two wide receiver on the team. So, but yeah, I give me Sutton for a TD this week. And Buka might too, right? But I just think you're going to get Sutton's going to have more opportunity than Mbuka is. I definitely love the Tampa Bay offense more, but I don't think that it's not going to be that easy for the kid, for the rookie, right? And I'm a guy who has a lot of stock in Mbuka. I drafted him in pretty much all my leagues. I know I'm starting him in a lot of my leagues this week. It's close, especially when you're dealing with like a standard, right? So you're trying to figure out who's going to have more yards and touchdowns. I think Sutton's going to have close to 100 yards. And Buka, I mean, he was 4 for 67, so he's not catching big plays. He's getting that small type stuff, right? I mean, not small, but middle. Let's say middle. But yeah, ETN over Conner because I think, again, facing the Bengals. And then Sutton just barely over Mbuka. So let's talk about next up. We got the Bucks and the Texans. I was just talking about the Bucks. I love Baker. CJ, what are we doing with CJ, guys? What is going on with him? He has not been the same guy that he was his rookie year, right? Nico had a rough week last week, but we're starting Nico. He's the number one guy. Bills defense versus Jets. Seahawks defense versus Steelers. I like the Cardinals defense versus the Panthers. I do not like the Texans defense versus the Bucks. I think the Bills defense will be here's my take on the Bills defense. They're a bend don't break. They're going to give up a lot of yards. They might give up a decent amount of points. In the fourth quarter, they're going to buckle down. They're going to play great. I like Carolina's defense versus the Panthers because I don't like Bryce Young. I don't like that Panthers offense. Last week I picked up the Cardinals because they were playing the Saints, and I'm keeping them this week. I stream my defenses typically week to week. When I draft a defense, it's the second to last pick. My last pick is always a kicker. The second to last pick is a defense, and it's based on their week one matchup. I went with the Cardinals because they were playing the Saints. And then I'm keeping them. It doesn't happen a lot where I keep a defense more than 1 week, but the matchup says to. I like the Cardinals defense versus the Panthers. Um, I think the Jets have some explosive players on their team that I like the Jets offense more than I do the Panthers offense. And I think the Jets have some explosive players. Brees Hall, like Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields can bust one at any given moment, right? Um, just haul in the ball and just take off running, and he's fast as fuck, right? So I think there's a lot of big play potential there with the Jets. I think the Jets could score a decent amount of points because I don't think that Bills defense is great, but they know how to buckle down when they need to. I don't like the Panthers offense. Bottom line, I don't believe in Bryce Young. Um, and if your quarterback isn't that guy, then that kind of affects the rest of your offense. So I like the Cardinals versus the Panthers this week. I definitely do not like the Texans versus the Bucks. I don't want to play any defenses versus the Bucks. Their offense is electric. Baker just could throw a TD any given moment. And Buka, Ricky, or Pickens. This one's close. I want to lean. So I like Ricky as a number one wide receiver there. I don't like Mac Jones as the quarterback. Pickens is the number two wide receiver. Um, and Buka's the number two wide receiver. I talked about a little bit a little while ago when the question was asked Sutton or Buka, and I went Sutton. Um, is it a PPR format? Are you doing it? Because if you're PPR, I think Ricky's going to catch a bunch of balls, right? Ricky's the number one guy there. Again, there's no George Kittle. I don't know. It's full PPR. I think I want to go Ricky. I really do. What's going on with Jennings? Is he playing this week? He's questionable right now. He's considered game time. There's some optimism that he goes, but I mean, Ricky just might be the guy there this week, right? And I'm gonna look at it as a volume type thing. Yeah, game time decision, which isn't good, and it's a shoulder, right? Um, when you're dealing with a wide receiver with a shoulder and he's got to reach up, that's a problem. That's what we call a problem. You can't do that when you have a shoulder problem. Um, and there is some optimism, but I don't know. I think I want to go Ricky because I think the volume is going to be there more. I don't like the quarterback situation with Mac Jones, but the issue with Mbuka is my team stacked, so I'm going to start the guy I want to watch. Hey, and then there you go, right? I can't fault you for starting Mbuka. I like Mbuka. I've been talking about it all night tonight, and I'll keep talking about it. I went all in on Mbuka in pretty much all my leagues. I drafted him in like every league that I could. There's a league or two where someone got him before I could, because they went early because they knew I was going to go for him. I like Mbuka. I really do. I think this week he comes back down to earth a little bit, but also he only had 4 catches for 67 yards last week. It's the 2 TDs. He's not going to get 2 TDs every week, right? And Mike Evans is still there. So Mbuka is the number 2 target. Mike Evans is the number 1 target. Ricky's the only wide receiver there, just about. I think you're going to get a higher volume out of him. And again, hey, if you want to start Mbuka, go for it. I am starting Mbuka in a lot of my leagues, a lot of them. There's a very few that I'm not starting them in this week. I do expect them to come back down to earth a little bit. I think Ricky gets a higher workload just for the fact that a lot of guys are injured, including the quarterback. Again, I'm not super excited about Mac Jones, but hey, maybe Kyle Shanahan is a quarterback whisperer, and he does that. What side do you like in this trade? Chase Brown and Addison, or Garrett Wilson and Mbuka? Chase Brown and Addison. I have Chase Brown as my RB1 this year. When all is said and done, when I did my rankings, I had him as my RB1. Jordan Addison, we're only missing him for 2 more weeks, right? But he's around when it matters and around when it counts. I like Garrett Wilson. I like Mbuka. But I think Chase Brown outscores them big time. I love Chase Brown. So if I can keep Chase Brown or trade, I would trade Garrett Wilson and Mbuka for Chase Brown and Addison. I would 100%, because I want Chase Brown. I want every bit there is to do with Chase Brown this year, every bit. And I like Addison. I think Addison is a solid wide receiver. Again, you're only missing him for 2 more weeks this season, plus the bye, so 3, right? But come playoff time and all that, he's going to be there. I think the Vikings are going to be all right with JJ. Um, I think having Addison back helps JJ's development more because then he's got Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison on a lot of teams in this league is the number 1 wide receiver for a team. He's the number 2 because Jettis, right? That's all there is to it. But that also helps him get open more. But yeah, I like Chase Brown and Addison side of things. I think Garrett Wilson is going to have a great year this year. I think Mbuka is going to have a really good year this year. But I think Chase Brown is going to have a special year this year. And I like Jordan Addison. So, any other questions before I get out of here, guys? Getting ready to call it a night. Got an early day tomorrow. Kiddo's back at the fields. We got more softball tournament going on. Plus, we got football. I got to wake up early and make sure all my lineups are set. I mean, I'm going to go through them when I'm done here, but I also got to make sure that, hey, everything's copacetic for in the morning. Make sure there's no last minute guys that we're missing or anything like that. But if you come up with any more questions between now and then, I will always post a short right after this saying, hey, guys, let me know. Give me your prediction for all the – I can't give you predictions for all the guys. I kind of went through them all a little bit. Here's what I'll tell you. Give me the Bengals over the Jags, Cowboys over the Giants, Lions over the Bears, Rams over the Titans, Patriots over the Dolphins, 49ers over the Saints in a snooze fest, Bills over the Jets, Steelers over the Seahawks in a close one, Ravens over the Browns, Broncos over the Colts, Cardinals over the Panthers. Give me the Chiefs over the Eagles. Falcons over the Vikings. Bucks over the Texans. And the Chargers over the Raiders. How about that? Just a real quick fire right there for you. Pick one. P. Ryan, Patty, Singletary. What? Anybody else? Okay. Yeah. You got the Jags take. Okay. I ain't mad at you. Seahawks, I kind of went, yeah, I don't know. And the Eagles, Chiefs, I just don't see the Chiefs going 0-2. Yeah. But nope. Anybody else? Anybody else? But hey, guys, thank you so much. Again, I'll throw a short out there. So if there's any more start-sit questions between now and game time, leave a comment. Get to them. Let's get those dubs this week, guys. As always, I'm Alan. I'll talk to you guys later. Deuces.